Hi and welcome to lesson 3 of quantitative chemistry. Last lesson we looked at relative formula mass and I asked you to complete the slot 2 questions for today. I'm now going to show you the answers to the questions. Please pause the video and mark your work. Alternatively, the answer sheet is on Show My Homework for you to download. So here we go with the answers. Today's lesson will follow the same routine as the last. If you don't have everything you need, pause the video and do this now. So, retrieval practice slide 1, pause and have a go. And these are the answers. If you need to pause and note down any, please do this now. Next retrieval practice slide, pause and have a go. And these are the answers. If you need to pause and note down any, please do this now. Next retrieval practice slide, pause and have a go. And these are the answers. If you need to pause and note down any, please do this now. We are now going to move on to focus on percentage mass. To do this, you'll need to access the resources on Show My Homework. If you haven't done so already, pause the video and get yourself organised. Today we're going to focus on looking at how to calculate the percentage mass of an element within a compound. So, how would you calculate the percentage mass of an element within a compound? You would use this formula. Percentage mass equals AR, if you remember from last lesson, means atomic mass or the top number, multiplied by the number of atoms, so how many I have, and then we divide all of that by the MR. Remember, that stands for relative formula mass, which is what we were looking at last lesson. And then to turn it into a percentage, you multiply all of that by 100. So, our first practice question is this. Find the percentage mass of sodium in NaCl. And then I look on my periodic table to see that sodium is Na. The first thing I need to do is, just like last lesson, calculate the relative formula mass of sodium chloride. So I start by writing out the chemical formula, then I write down what I've got, NaCl. How many do I have of each? Na, I've got 1, Cl, 1, multiplied by the top number, or the mass number. So Na is 23, Cl is 35.5. Work those out, so 23 and 35.5. And then I add them together. So 23 plus 35.5 is 58.5. And that's my MR, my relative formula mass. And now I write out my equation. So percentage mass is AR times number of atoms divided by the MR and then times by 100. So in this case, I'm talking about sodium. So the AR is the top number of sodium, 23, times number of atoms, or how many sodiums did I have? I had 1. Divide it by the MR, 58.5, and I times all of that by 100. And then I do 23 times 1 divided by 58.5 times by 100, which gives me 39%. And our final example is this. Find the percentage mass of sodium in Na2CO3. Again, we're working with sodium, so my symbol there is Na. Just as before, I start by working out my relative formula mass. So I start by writing out my chemical formula, Na2CO3. And then I write down what I've got. So I've got Na, C and O. How many NAs have I got? 2. C, 1, and I've got 3 O's. Multiply those by their top number. So Na is 23, C is 12, and O is 16. Then I work those out. So that's 46, 12, and then 3 times 16 is 48. Then I add those together. So 48 plus 12 plus 46 is 106. And now I can write out my formula. So percentage mass equals AR times number of atoms divided by MR times 100. So my AR is going to be my top number of, remember I'm being asked to work out sodium. So the top number of sodium is 23 times the number of atoms. Well, this time I had 2 sodiums. Divided by the MR, which was 106, and then times by 100. So 23 times 2 is 46, divided by 106 times 100, and then I pop that into my calculator. So 46 divided by 106 times 100, and that is 43%. We have now come to the part of the lesson where you need to embed the knowledge covered today. You should do this by first self-testing, and then if you want to move to peer testing by asking someone at home to quiz you, you can do so. Please pause the video and do this now. Finally, it's time for you to have a go at some practice questions. The slot questions are attached to show my homework. If you are unable to access these, they will appear at the end of this video. Please ensure these questions are completed, ready for the next lesson. Thanks for tuning in.